Final Boy Status is a podcast about scary movies and the stuff that happens in them. The entire horror genre is generally frightening and disturbing, so if you're a kid, be sure to ask your parents if it's okay for you to listen. Or don't. You'd probably be cooler if you didn't ask for their permission. But then again, I won't tell you how to live your life. Also, we will be discussing spoilers during this podcast, so don't say we didn't warn you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Final Boy Status.
Hey.
The podcast.
Back.
We're back. Season 2
Dose.
It's here. You've been waiting for it and it's happening. It's been great. How have you guys been?
Fantastic.
Yeah, please call the line we have available. It's 477-895-7272, and then for good measure, you type in boobs and turn it upside down, so it's 8,085.
It says,
Did you get all that?
Been disconnected.
I hope the line has been disconnected.
What the
Just
heck?
the line from my brain to everything else.
If you've noticed, different this time is we've got video going. If you're watching on YouTube,
Video setup, yeah.
got a video set up, so that's fun.
Can you see our beautiful faces?
Yeah, and let us know if that's a positive or not.
Tom-
We're troubleshooting.
Top comment on the video. This is not what we wanted. This is not.
The face reveal was never requested.
Please stop.
This is not what we thought. This is not what we thought would happen.
Well, exciting that we're back and we're jumping into if this is your first time or if you need a reminder of what the podcast is, we watch a scary movie. And just like any group of friends would, we talk about how we would survive the scary movie if we were in the same place as the people surviving the scary movie. Just like you do with your friends where you're like, oh man, they shouldn't have split up, or oh wow, they were running super slow, or they tripped on fetching nothing. That's our voices today. As the most average of Joes, we will decide, could we survive this scary movie?
And you now have the rare opportunity to look at us and establish that we are, in fact, insanely
We've
average.
been saying it, and now you can
verify.
validate it with your eyes.
Oh no, those guys are average.
They were in line.
We
Those
have
are average.
Video evidence.
Maybe even below average. I don't
Wow.
know.
I think
But if I type some things into the mass spectrometer here, I might be able to determine where on the average meter they land.
yeah.
Boy, oh boy. I'm sorry. I am on one today. Like I gotta
Heck
be.
yeah.
It's like I've been in the desert for months, and this is the first.
This
the
is the
first
oasis.
water. Yeah, this is the oasis. So you guys are gonna get like an overwhelming load of like just pure silliness from me, I guess. So
I'll take
rock and
your
roll.
overwhelming load, Luke. This
Heck yeah.
this week's movie.
Hey, that's another change to the podcast that we should mention. Actually,
Okay, yeah, bring it up.
Is that now there's straight porn? No.
Oh no.
Catch
Oh,
us after
yes.
hours.
Season 1, we went family friendly. We'd censor. We'd kind of watch our words a little bit. But season 2, like we can do whatever we want. We are back, raw, uncensored. We can say so many words now. I could say coitus on the podcast. That was not allowed before.
That's crazy.
That is the word of the day today.
Coitus.
Funny enough, it wasn't a censor thing. Adam just forbade it. But now that it's like the reins are off, he's like, say it as much as you want.
Do it.
Not true.
That was a lie. Straight lie.
You're probably dying to know what movie we are going to be talking about today.
Yes.
And we are starting out with Happy Death Day, the movie.
Happy Death Day, the movie. And this is picked specially because this episode is releasing July 16th, which is not the birthday, but it is in the birth week of a very special friend of the show, Seth Cal. No, I'm just kidding.
Vincent.
Vincent
the
Skeleton. He's looking right at us right now.
Hey, thumbs
No,
up.
of course. July 16th is just a couple days after Lanson's birthday.
Yeah.
This is the birthday podcast. Happy birthday,
Yeah.
Lanson.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Feel
happy
so
birthday.
appreciated.
Yeah.
You're like, let me check to see the whiteboard. Is that all factually true?
Is my facts correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they're
happy
correct.
birthday, Landon.
Worth mentioning that we're also recording this in advance, so it's like
Months in
it's
advance.
far enough in
Yeah.
advance that my birthday is closer to now than Lanson's is.
It's true.
But happy birthday.
Yeah.
But hey,
So when your actual
Yeah.
birthday comes and we don't even acknowledge it, know that we already acknowledged it.
I will
So
be grateful. I will not make a peep.
He doesn't make peeps anymore. He's not allowed.
No.
The government sent a cease and desist letter.
The
He can no
FDA
longer
shut me
make
down,
marshmallow
man.
garbage.
Come on. It's styrofoam. The kids will love it. It's purple. Everybody loves purple.
Oh, I put a little food coloring in there.
Yeah.
Make it look like a chicken.
Yeah.
People love it.
Oh my gosh.
Cluck, cluck.
Well, just to kind of go over an overview again, if it's been so long and you don't remember how this goes,
I could use an overview. To be
I
honest
don't
with
remember
you,
how
yeah.
this goes. Please tell me.
Please.
we first talk about the movie in kind of a review sense where we say if we liked it or not and if it was scary to us or not. And then after that, we'll talk about the killer and the victims and if we could have done better in our ideas. So yeah, just ideas about the movie, like impressions just kind of coming out. We've all seen it before. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure this wasn't the first time, but
Yep.
Yeah, I saw this in theaters.
Dang.
Yeah.
cool. Looks like that was leading into something.
I thought somebody else was going to pick up right after I said that, but then you guys
I-
looked at me expectantly.
I did not see it in the theater. I watched it before, but I watched it a second time. So I have all the answers.
Twice.
Multiple
Yeah,
viewings will
what
do
could I
that.
say? No, but just as a general sense, it's a fun addition to the horror genre, kind of a little bit different than your average slasher movie. So I thought it was good. It's a little bit like a dark comedy. So yeah, I
Yeah,
liked it.
There's a lot going on. It's got like it's got some romantic elements.
True.
It's got very much like a science fiction element sort of in there. The horror, and obviously like at its core, it's a horror movie. It's funny that this is our first like we're gonna get down in the dirt like totally unrated uncut episode because this is actually like a pretty, all things considered, like a pretty tame horror movie.
Pretty damn.
It's PG-13.
Yeah, it's
which is
PG-13.
pretty rare for what we cover.
It's
Yeah.
got an F word. It's got, it's
Yeah.
it's harder for PG-13s, but it's
edgy.
not gonna be the hardest movie we watch, probably by a long shot.
It's not even the hardest movie we've watched so far.
Yeah, but that's true.
Donnie Darko.
No
was
coming
just it.
back.
Couldn't hold anything back there. But yeah, and we talk about like we usually kind of start by talking about like how scary the movie is. And we rate it out of 13.
Yeah,
It's-
we scale out of
Like a
13
13.
for both the quality and the spoopiness.
Spoopy
That's
loopy.
how we do it.
Yeah. This movie is one where it's like it's not even actively trying to be scary except for a couple sequences.
Yeah.
So like it automatically it's going to be a little low. I'll admit that there's like one sequence where I always kind of forget about it and it manages to make me jump every time I watch the movie, which feels so stupid. Because by now you'd think I'd be like, oh yeah, this is the one where he like jumps out and it always gets me. But yeah, I mean it's not particularly frightening. I'd probably put it like a 2 or a 3. That's not really the aspect of this movie to enjoy, I think, though.
Sure.
True.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to give credit to the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean when I'm thinking about it, it's pretty low. And I think even the scenes that were the scary movie scenes, like the one where she's in the tunnel and there's the thing in the middle, it's the music box, and then other scenes where she's looking around in the bathroom behind the curtain, like those scenes were still very, to me, not that scary. Like, I don't know. I think overall it was around a 2 where, yeah, it was a horror movie. You didn't want her to get stabbed and you kind of felt like, ooh, don't die. But that's about as far as it went for me. I didn't get that scared.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's Same here. It's probably like, I'm going to give it a 3 just to be that guy, just to be different.
Just to kind of one up everybody
What can I say?
else.
But yeah, I mean, there are certainly elements and certainly scenes where it's kind of like, oh shoot, what's behind there? What's going to happen? But you know, for the most part, like it's been mentioned before, there's a lot of other things going on, so it's not the scariest. So,
And I figured before we jump into the quality and talk about our thoughts, we should probably, if you haven't seen the movie, you know, we encourage you to watch along with us. But just a quick overview of the movie.
Oh, that's fair.
Is probably a good
true.
idea, just so everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
Someone else want to take a crack at maybe the back of the movie synopsis, or back of the DVD
the back
synopsis?
flap, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess like
A book.
the back flap, yeah, next to the About Arthur section. I guess like the elevator pitch of this movie that like the cast and the crew were saying all during like the marketing of it was that it's Groundhog Day meets Scream. I feel like that's a really good way to describe it. It's a very standard slasher, but with the twist of the victim like wakes up at the start of the day, gets to do the day over again and try to beat the killer. So she, the protagonist Tree, is stuck in this time loop trying to come out on top and get out of the day without being killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, just to kind of say it, I feel like for me, the idea of that, or the pitch that the movie probably would be like, if I was in that pitch meeting and they're like, okay, Groundhog Day, but it's a slasher movie, I'd be like, dude, that's awesome. Like, that's a great idea. Even though like when the Groundhog Day movies, like that became a genre, I was kind of skeptical and I was like, please don't make this a thing. There have been enough quality movies that have come out of that now I'm kind of embracing it. Like, all right, let's just make it a thing. Let's be self-aware. So I feel like the pitch of this movie for me is very strong, where it's like, yeah, that's cool. It's a slasher and it's Groundhog Day, and that those seem to seamlessly go together in concept for me.
Well, and this is a guy, the director, Christopher Landon. He didn't happen to write the first one. He did write the sequel, but he has since gone on to, he wrote and directed Freaky, which is like a body switch movie. But
Right, and
with
that
like
came out pretty
yeah.
recently.
Yeah, it came out in 2020. So like, so he clearly is very interested in like, subverting the genre sound doesn't feel right, because he clearly likes the genre and embraces aspects of it, but he's clearly looking to do things that it's like, well, but I bet you haven't seen this before. So he's clearly trying to take like really big ideas that are like movies on their own already, and then he's trying to like mash it together. So that, again, like a body switch, that could be a movie on its own, but then you mix it with like a slasher movie that's interesting, and then like a time loop movie that could be a movie on its own, and it has been a movie on its own, but then we add in this element of now there's a killer. So he's clearly very interested in kind of mishmashing these ideas and making something really different.
Cool.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's interesting. Just to kind of get into it for me, I think maybe I alluded to, I don't like this movie that much. And I don't know, I'm like, I feel like, again, the concept was really good, and it's a concept I feel like I believe in. But to me, the execution is kind of, I think just the word that comes to mind for me is very, I want to say mediocre, but not only because I feel like the movie was made very interestingly. I feel like the director did have a really good vision, and the camera work was interesting. Like it wasn't a boring looking movie, but I feel like, I have seen the Groundhog Day shtick so many times, where the person wakes up for the second day, they're like, ooh, what's going on? And all the things happening around them are the same, but they're acting different every time. And to me, at this point, that alone isn't going to carry a movie, because we have literally seen that exact same thing before. And I feel like the first half of this movie really relies on that, where it's like we're keeping the audience interested by this shtick again that we've seen done in other movies a lot better and a lot more interesting. And so, and not to say that there's nothing good. I feel like the main character is a very interesting character, very well acted. But yeah, to me, I don't know. I'll jump into my rating maybe of quality again out of 13 because of it's spooky movies. I think, and just to kind of finish that thought near the end, I thought it started getting better where it did kind of subvert the genre, so to speak, where you kind of had this twist of, oh, who's the actual killer? Oh, it's the roommate, and and then you got to see more screen time with the killer, who is really fun to watch. I love him being creepy and I don't know. So I feel like the second half of the movie was a lot better for me. Out of 13, I'm probably gonna give it like a 5. It's not something. When I first watched it, I really wanted to revisit, but I did for this podcast. And again, it kind of let me down a little bit. I don't know. It's
going to be a constant catchphrase of this is I probably wouldn't have watched it except the podcast.
Had to do it for the podcast.
I do what I do for you.
the things we do.
I do it because I love one of you. There's one of you out there who I love very dearly.
Everyone else can go to hell, honestly.
To quote this movie,
Wow.
I'm going to have your babies.
Could have his babies.
One of the weirdest proclamations she could have made.
Barely knows the guy. But yeah, I will actually disagree with Adam. I like
Please
this
do.
movie quite a bit. I definitely respect where you're coming from, and I'm not I'm out here making a
not
beef.
taking
I'm
this
out
as an
here.
attack.
I'm out here taking a personal attack against Adam. I don't think he knows what movies are. Anyway,
Lanson's taken the diss track course.
what can I say? Not surprised. You want some of this? Come find me 7 days a week, twice on a Sunday. Anyway,
My for a full fatality.
flawless victory. But yeah, I felt like what really sealed the deal for me was just kind of the mashup of the horror as well as the comedy. I thought worked very well, and I just thought this was a fun movie. I don't think that I had any high expectations going into it. Not that I'm dissing on the movie, but I just was like, hey, sweet, happy Death Day. I don't know what this is about. Just gonna watch it. And yeah, I felt like it was good. So I give this an 8 out of 13.
Oh, boom. How interesting. I don't want to go on for too long because you guys have both said very good arguments for both sides of how I feel. I do feel it comes in a little under the promise of what it could be, but I also feel like it knows what it is and it embraces it. It very much is hey, this is just for funsies, let's have fun, and it is fun.
Yeah.
What I will say is this movie would be dramatic. I would give it a much lower score if it isn't for the lead actress, Jessica Roth.
Just does
is-
a really great job.
She is carrying this movie up a mountain.
Really great
straight up.
personality.
She's incredible in it. And especially because the movie's selling her as she's a terrible person who slowly learns to be better as she's stuck in this time loop. Finding an actress who does that and keeps you rooting for her the entire time after you see how terrible she is at the beginning.
The first thing is you just hate her by the end.
Yeah, you hate her by the end of the first day, and she's getting killed, and you're like, that's fine.
I'm cool with this.
Can the movie end here?
Good resolution.
Roll credits.
So what I will say is this score would be a lot lower if it wasn't for Jessica Roth.
Yeah.
I'm actually not going to be quite as nice as Lanson, which is funny because I was the one who wanted to do this movie. I was the one who saw it in theaters. But I would probably put this movie at about a 7. I do enjoy it, but funny enough, I think we watched this, the three of us together watched this last Halloween because of a pandemic. We don't go anywhere. We do a lot of stuff just together. Yeah, so I funny enough, we watched it last Halloween, and as we sat down to watch it, through the first half hour, I genuinely had this weird feeling of this is too close to be watching it again. We're so we're really far removed because we're 6, 7, 8, I don't know how many months, several months past Halloween. It's been a while, and I'm still feeling we probably should have waited longer before we watched this one again. So it is fun, but it's really one to tuck away and wait a few years and then revisit it when you've had time to just truly
Forget about it.
let it kind of fall away from your brain, and then you can revisit, have fun. But when you kind of know what's going on a little bit too much and you've watched it kind of recently, that could hurt it.
Sure.
Yeah. I can appreciate that.
Very good thoughts all around. So I mean, now to get to the fun part again. we are going to talk first about the killer and like what he does, his strengths, weaknesses, she and
He-she, yeah.
the he-she as he-she prefers, and talk about weaknesses, strengths. What do we feel about the killer?
Yeah.
/ killers.
That's sort of an interesting question. Let me ask you guys this.
Okay.
Yes.
How many of the kills do you think were the roommate whose name I've already forgotten?
Roommate.
Roommate number
Pretzel
3.
face. How many do you think were the roommate, and how many do you think was like the serial killer guy, John Toombs, whose name I remember very clearly because that's a good serial killer name.
Sounds like a freaking WWE star. Coming in. John Toombs.
John Toombs.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because the first one definitely was her.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they sort of imply that it's always her, but it couldn't all. But like, would it always be her? It doesn't really confirm either way. There's some where it's like clearly her,
Sure.
like when she chases her down in the car and then like sets off the explosion with the birthday candle. That's clearly the roommate.
Right.
When she's in
in the
the
dorm.
apartment
Yeah.
with her.
Yeah, that's clearly the roommate. I don't know.
At the party, probably.
Yeah, I would assume so, since she would know. Like that's.
We should probably just act under the assumption that it's always the roommate.
Until
Until
not,
she-
like he demasks and
Yeah, in fairness, like she goes to confront the serial killer guy, and that's when he seems to be like a menacing presence.
yeah.
So I would say like every other instance is probably just the roommate.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. As far as the roommate, she does have like at times some weird like superhuman stuff going on. that
Yeah,
she
bro.
so easily bests Tree, the protagonist, Tree, short for Teresa. But like me in that situation, just as I am now, like she's kind of just like this scrawny girl. Like I don't want to like play the whole like I'm a man. I'm tough,
see.
I could take down a woman. But just based off of what I've seen, especially in like the final confrontation between them, well, you know what? Every confrontation between them, because there's a few where Tree gets the upper hand, but then instead of like double tapping or just like beating the life out of the killer, she just like turns and tries to run, and that like screws her over.
Yeah.
So I've talked about it before, but there's a point where I think I would just go full feral and I'd be like, you're just dead. Like, I'm not giving you any room here. So based off of what I've seen about the roommate, I'd say like if it came down to a physical confrontation, I'd probably be okay. It's the element of surprise that she would need to get to me.
That's true.
That being said, the cupcake poison, I'd fall for that probably 100 times out of 100.
Because it's a fucking cupcake.
I love cupcakes. Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you eat it first thing in the morning when she gives it to you, then you're wide awake and you're like, oh, the cupcake. Like,
How could you do
the paramedics dragging you away and, cupcake.
Did you feed her a cupcake? No. The cupcake right there? No, I don't know how she got that.
We checked her system. She definitely has cyanide that was ingested in a cupcake. Did you bake that cupcake for her? I've never seen that cupcake. Really? Because your roommates say they saw you baking a cupcake and that you took out a jar labeled cyanide.
It was so weird. It was just one cupcake. She didn't even make multiple.
She's fully cooking this cupcake in a sorority house
Yeah.
and putting poison in it like nobody will notice.
No one will know.
That's a good point.
The friggin' girl at the end that's like, we're Kappas, we don't eat cupcakes.
Lies.
Yeah, even that's a good point. Even the creation of this cupcake would raise suspicion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether or not there was poison in it.
Yeah.
If that like head sorority girl was around and she walked in and saw that girl making a cupcake in her kitchen, she'd probably lose her mind.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Well, that's a very good point. And I think to add to that, there's also nothing in the character of the roommate to suggest that she has, formal training fighting, or like she's a I don't know what her job is at the hospital. A doctor.
Wait, you're telling me you didn't see that shot at the beginning where they pan across her martial arts trophies?
Super
Muay Thai champion 10 years running. What?
Definitely not setting anything
This
up for
isn't
later.
going to come up later.
Never and ever.
And it seems like, for me, what I focused on when I watched it this time was her motives, which were crazy and dumb.
Yeah.
But like I get the point that the movie is very self-aware and it's wanting to have fun, so they just kind of ham it up and be like, and I don't remember what she says at the end, but
Tree says to her, "You've killed me before," and instead of asking any questions about that, she goes, "Guess I'll do it again."
she's so bloodthirsty that she's like, wait, what? That doesn't make any sense what you're saying right now.
Okay.
I would have fully stopped in my tracks and been like, let's break this down. You got to explain something to me right now.
Sorry, I spit.
Oh, you're good.
Basically, to me, and let me know if there's a different interpretation, it seems like she was just so annoyed by her roommate, fellow sorority member, that she just broke down and was like, I'm gonna kill this bitch. And like, just that's like the only time she's ever in her life been a killer. And I guess it's never really explored, but to me it seems kind of like I mean, it was obviously planned, but her character doesn't really have any more experience or any more reason than that. And to me, I don't know.
I have an explanation based off of an interview I watched on YouTube with the director.
Very nice.
So in his mind, the roommate was very much a psychopath, and Tree was just the first person to push her over the edge and make her kill.
Okay.
And he thought this was clear in the script. Whether or not you agree is subjective. He thought it was clear in the movie and in the script that because on the day where Tree really gives a heartfelt apology to the roommate still goes and sets the serial killer guy free. He thought that was evidence that like the roommate was just on this path and was a psychopath and didn't care about Tree and wanted her dead.
Okay.
So his point of view was she very much was just a psychopath.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Hey, I guess that's just it. Cool.
Whether or not you agree with that, that's a whole
Right.
other thing.
Right. I did not see that when I was watching the movie, so it's good to have a little bit of clarification, but again, it is subjective. But yeah, just chiming in my personal thoughts on the roommate and her strengths and weaknesses. For sure, her strength being able to know Tree's schedule and being able to use that as an element of surprise is definitely
for sure.
definitely an advantage to her. But yeah, as mentioned before, it's she's not like a Krav Maga champion, so it's not like, I don't know. And again, not to be like I'm pretty average Joe, so like
That's
maybe
the whole
I have
point.
at least like have 10 seconds of cardio, and then I'd be like, okay, man, like if just make it quick, it's fine, go ahead. But yeah, I feel like if I can just make it out of the first round, I think I'll be okay. But yeah, so I guess a weakness for her is just like, if you know what's coming, then like the physical altercation is not going to be tremendously difficult to get out of.
So I think, that being said, which I agree with you in that, because it is a Groundhog Day situation, the first time you're just, at least for me, it's like, you're just going to die. Like, you're not going to, because it's surprising, you're not expecting it. You aren't, there's not the expectation of a killer. But then after that, it should get way easier because of the things we've said.
Yeah.
Well, and I think like Tree says at the end of the movie that she's died 16 times, which is more than we've seen on screen.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know how much that brings the total up to at the end of the movie of how many times she's died. But at least where my brain was at that moment was you had 16 opportunities to go full kamikaze and at least rip off the mask and say, aha, it's you, before you die.
Seriously.
Right.
Like,
True.
Like
you're
even
in
like
a scuff.
like when she goes and spies on the guy and he's like watching gay porn and she turns around and the killer's there and stabs her, she just like sits there for a minute just like dying, and I'm like, you could just right now just reach up and hello.
True.
Like, so I don't know. I do think her plan of like figuring out who the killer is, like in some places is kind of poorly executed because the killer's right there and she just is like, what a mystery this is.
Who could know?
I mean, yeah, like when the killer appears in her bedroom, she takes a hammer to her, right? Like knocks her out for a second, then turns around and tries to flee the room, which she's like boarded up, like putting nails in boards to make sure nobody could get in or out. And internally, I'm thinking like, rip off that mask or keep going with that hammer, pulverize that brain meat. Like, don't leave anything left. Don't leave anything to chance.
Double
So we're kind of accidentally like transitioning into talking about Tree,
the victim.
but I do think Tree, like, especially when her plan becomes figure out who's doing this, it feels poorly executed in a lot of places.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
It's like, hey, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, it's just like, just rip off the mask. You're gonna die anyway. Just but at least know who you're fighting against, you know?
Also, this is really nitpicky, but she thinks it's like the head sorority girl. And then they have that confrontation where she sees the sorority girl has the threatening birthday card, and they both get hit by a bus. And then the next thing we see is her crossing off the sorority girl's name.
That's true.
How did that in any way prove her innocence?
Yeah.
True.
If anything, that made her look far more guilty. Like, I would have followed up on that. But just in the montage, they're like, oh, I guess it wasn't her. And it's like, what? Totally could have been her. What?
She just got hit by a bus. That's it.
She got hit by a bus. She's innocent? I don't think so.
Nay.
Plenty of people were guilty and got hit by a bus. Harvey Weinstein.
Yes. Yeah. It had to be a big bus.
He hasn't been
Big
hit.
fella.
He hasn't been hit by a bus yet, but we're hoping.
Predicting that.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Here's another point. I don't know where this lies in the categories of what we're talking about, but this is the same, not issue, but the same thing I noticed when watching Edge of Tomorrow, which was another Groundhog Day movie, which I thought was really good. But the same thing where every single day, the person has to explain to the other person what's happening, and then the other person has to be down for it. And this it was a lot less because it really showed the times where he was like, I don't know what's going on. But I still think there was quite a leap between you're a crazy girl that just like who threw up everywhere and then fell asleep in my bed, and now you're saying crazy things in the morning, and like I'm like, okay, I'll take this 100% seriously, you know. So I guess this is a criticism on the friend, but like he's like, okay, fine, we're into this. He's a really good guy, so maybe that's the way they kind of. He's just a good guy. But...
How do we know he's a good guy? One, he didn't rape her.
Right.
He's like, I slept in the other bed. You were really
I did
drunk.
not take advantage.
Which she's amazed by, and like
that's where it's just turned. She's like, "No, I'm in love with him. I'm my baby."
to any women listening out there, if a big thing for you is that he doesn't rape you, you can have higher standards.
You can raise that bar a little.
Yeah.
You can raise that bar a significant portion. So we know he's a good guy because one, he didn't rape her. Two, he returns her personal property, which she accidentally leaves like in his room. Three, he treats her with empathy when she's clearly having a mental breakdown. Because of those three things, we know that he's the best guy in the world and worthy of her love. And when all three of these things occur, and then at one point she's getting attacked by somebody and he intervenes.
Yes.
And that's when she's like, literally the next day she goes, I'm going to have his babies. And it's like, because he tried to stop a guy from killing you? That, again... Like, if I saw a homie that was, like, throwing some punches, I feel like standard procedure would be to intervene. It's like John Mulaney has a stand-up bit where he talks about King David and the two women fighting over the baby, where King David's like, we'll cut the baby in half. And the woman that's like, don't do that. He's like, you're clearly the mom. And John Mulaney's like, if I was walking down the street and I saw a baby about to be sawed in half and I said, hey, maybe don't do that. And the person's like, clearly, you're the father because you know not to harm this child.
You care.
Like, no, like human life. Like, you can, people should have a respect for that innately. You can set the bar higher.
Sure.
I think I don't know if you call this nitpicky or if I'm kind of coming off as a bad person for saying this, whatever it is. But I think
so excited right now.
Her focus is on figuring out what the hell is going on, but a lot of the time is spent on her being like, I want to be a better person. Sometimes I'm a dick to people, and I don't like that anymore. And that is a sweet message. I like that about the movie.
Yeah.
That part was heartwarming. I liked seeing her be a better person. But if I was in that situation, I'd be like, screw that. I'm going to figure out what's happening. Like, I'm going to
Ain't got time for that.
Self-help later. Like, I don't know.
You know what? If I make it to tomorrow, I promise that I will be a better person. That's my promise.
But right
to the
now,
universe.
if someone's in my way,
I gotta be a stone cold killer. I gotta go to a bad place to get this figured out.
I gotta cut my hair and dye certain strands of it pink and think that will make me look different enough to fool the killer.
So I'm again coming across as a dick, but I'm saying that as a weakness, where her focus on her self-betterment that energy could have been put into what the heck is going on, who is doing this,
right,
and maybe would have found out sooner.
Yeah, there you go.
It's just an idea.
There you go.
I would have been intrigued to see that movie.
I know, right?
She goes full turn. She goes 0 to 100 just over nothing.
She's a dick, and then she just turns into a worse dick as the movie goes
terrible.
along.
By the end of the movie, she's just like the worst person on the
Please,
planet.
somebody kill
She's
her.
worse than the killer.
Carter just pulls out a gun. I'm doing this for the world.
The killer's like crawling away from her.
No, please, God. I'll tell you who I am. I don't want to know. What? I've always been the killer. It's me.
I am the real. I'm Kaiser Sose.
Yes. Shoot, that is a good point, though. You know, I mean, it's hard. It's kind of hard to like have two goals going at once and to be able to accomplish both in a speedy manner. You kind of have to divert. Although, yeah, I'm there with you. It's a great message. Obviously, like, you should be a good person and try to improve yourself.
For the movie, it was good.
Yeah, for sure. But like, if I'm in that situation, I totally feel that where I'm like, you know what? Sorry, guys. I'm sorry if I'm a little short with you, but I only have X amount of time to live. So,
guys, a baby is coming at me with a knife. Priorities, God will understand. All right.
So, when I was doing some research for the movie, I found that Tony Gardner was the guy who designed the babyface killer, and he's the same guy that designed Ghostface in Scream. So he's got like the pedigree. And apparently, like, he designed this really, like, creepy-looking, like, pig mascot thing. And the director was like, no, a baby. And when they asked the director about it later, he was like, well, one, I thought it would be funnier. And we were trying to make the movie funnier. And two, I was about to have a son. So subconsciously, I think I was just scared of babies.
baby.
But that's a big thing to talk about with the director, though, is... Clearly, from what I could see, like, this was not a script he wrote. This was a script that, according to legend, was written, like, 10 or 12 years before the movie was actually made. It was actually originally written as a Michael Bay Megan Fox vehicle. So Megan Fox would play the main character, and Michael Bay would produce or direct or something.
She would explode every time there would be an explosion. That's how she would die every time.
Well, and it was going to be like a hard R. Like,
Yeah,
her death sequences were going to be much more graphic. The language was very rated R.
Yeah.
But when this movie finally got made years later, and Christopher Landon is the name of the director, when he came on board, like, sort of the first thing he did was he started taming it down. He started to make it funnier. He started to make it like, he's not credited with any rewrites or anything. Scott Lobdell is the writer's name. I have it written down. He's credited as the sole writer, but clearly the director kind of came in and toned everything down and made it funnier and made it more of like a PG-13 tone, which I think is probably why the movie ended up being as successful as it was. It made a lot of money.
Nice.
I think probably because they did the PG-13 thing and they made it more accessible.
Honestly, I would say a good call. I think the movie could have been, this is better.
Yeah.
I think there's a version of the movie that could be really fun that's like much darker and like R-rated and gritty. But I do think it would be supremely weird to have a movie where we're constantly watching the main character dusting in awful ways and then just wake up like nothing's like it's fine.
It's fine.
I think it's actually a really good choice that they kind of cut away like as she's dying to her waking up. I think that works for the movie better.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's good.
Be kind of like after a while, you're just like, no more. No, please. No, I can't take it anymore. Decapitation.
This means nothing to me.
Well, are there any last thoughts about the killer, the victims, before we jump into the closing up our resolution with the movie?
That's a good question.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, I think
Kind of hit it with kind of a
Scatter shot.
shot, yeah.
shotgun.
Just in terms of surviving the movie, I guess. Well, okay, so here's something I found online that we could open up to just.
Sure.
Did you guys know that the ending of the movie was actually a reshoot? There was a different ending originally. Would you guys like to know about that?
Yeah.
So originally, she would discover that her roommate was doing it, kill her roommate, success. She survives Monday the 18th. On Tuesday the 19th, she goes to the doctor's office to get checked out because obviously she's had some pretty serious trauma.
Yeah.
The doctor she ends up seeing at the hospital happens to be the professor's wife. And during the examination, the doctor's wife closes the door, murders Tree, and then Tree wakes up again, now in a time loop of Tuesday the 19th.
Dang.
You know?
I feel like I like the reshoot better than
Well,
that.
that was the whole thing, is they showed it to a test audience, and the test audience freaked. They hated it so bad that they were like, maybe we gotta put together a little something different here. But that's sort of an interesting aspect of conversation now, is like Tree kind of openly admits that there are a lot of people who could want her dead.
Sure. Yeah.
And she's gone through all this growth. She's gone through some gross stuff. She's disgusting.
Shame on her.
Metamorphosis
by the
into a
end
butterfly.
of the, she turned from a butterfly into a straight worm. But she's gone through all this growth, but this happened in like the blink of an eye, where she woke up one morning a totally different person, and some people aren't going to be aware of that. And we see her make amends with certain people, with the guy who's secretly gay, with I guess Carter is a big one.
Yeah.
She does like dump the professor, but there are a lot of people she never ends up making amends with. For instance, the professor's wife.
Yeah.
So I do think it's worth thinking about that, like, this growth that she's experienced, not everybody is going to at the same time be like, yeah, she's cool now. Like, there's some people that are still going to have a grudge and maybe still take a crack at the title.
Hey, that's true.
So I don't know. I think I do not to say that like a person deserves to die because they're like not nice or whatever.
Right.
Very much, I value the sanctity of human life.
Sure.
Good to know. Noted.
Adam can sleep a lot easier now. But what I will say is that I think she's clearly in a place where a lot of people would not be sad if she died.
Right.
And I think that's something to take into account. I think one thing this movie doesn't get into, but could have been really interesting, is like the reason she can't figure out who the killer is because every time she goes through the loop, it's actually somebody different.
Oh, someone else has a different grudge on her.
I think that would have been a really cool movie. That like she crosses off one person from the list because they didn't kill her that one night.
Yeah.
But the next night,
Circle
that
back
person
around.
was the person who tried to kill her. So it's like,
And then
just depending on like how the day went, how things shake out, it's a different person trying to kill her every day. I don't know why I'm pitching a new movie, a new ending for this movie.
Happy D.
But I do think like I don't know. That's a final point that I'll bring up, is saying that there's still a lot of grudges being held.
Sure.
And we're given this nice happy ending of she's going to change and things are going to be better. But she even says in the movie, like, I can't change what I've done. I can just try to be better now. Yeah. So there's still going to be people from her past who are less than happy with her.
True. Yeah.
And I think that brings up something in my mind, I think that I brought up earlier, where the killer, her roommate, the motivation was pretty thin already for me, at least. That, again, she was a shitty person to her. But, like, you know, a lot of people are shitty people to me. I don't want to kill him. And I feel like in
Good
the
to
real
know.
world,
Very good to
even
know.
like if you're like her, where she just like wasn't a good person at all, like we were saying, watching her, we wanted her to get stabbed in the face. But again, it was a movie. Like in real life, I don't want like
Sure.
people aren't gonna want you to die because you're a bad person. That almost felt like what the roommate's motivation was like, I don't like you because you suck and I'm gonna kill you. It's like most people aren't gonna take it that far. So I guess that's my thoughts with what you brought up is, yeah, a lot of people have grudges, and that would almost be a cool movie because it'd almost be like a Ghost of Christmas Past, where each person, she has to face that part of her shittiness where she's like, oh, this is what I did wrong here, and then like slowly she'd build, like, you know, that'd be kind of nice. I'd like that.
The ending might feel more earned that way, if nothing
Yeah,
else.
it's
That
more gradual.
She really had to do some work and make herself a better person. Because sort of the moral of this movie is like, if you want to be a better person, just be a better person.
Just do it today.
And like,
Change overnight.
not to be this guy, like obviously everybody should try and everybody should try their best, but like at the same time, you know, I have my things that I'm really bad at. If I wake up tomorrow and I'm like, hey, I no longer do that thing, it's not how that works. Like,
Yeah, you're gonna
it
say
takes
that,
time,
and then yeah.
I don't want to name something specific, but say I was addicted to meth, because I'm addicted to meth, and I woke up tomorrow and I was like, I'm no longer addicted to meth. That doesn't really pan out.
Not how the real world works.
Not really how the real.
It's a nice message, but it's not.
Yeah,
super
you
realistic.
really got to go through and you got to learn that lesson.
So I like that pitch. I think it realistically to me doesn't make sense because I feel like 10 people, even for her, that just are ready to kill her. But I think the catharsis probably would have paid off more with a little more gradual.
Yeah, with a little more weight to
Sure.
confronting who she is.
Coming to the end here, again, if you haven't watched, we decide two things. Could we personally, with the skill sets we have, with the weaknesses we have, crazy, random, useless new movie knowledge we have, could we achieve final boy status, and could we achieve final girl status? Final boy, and this is of course going along with the stereotype in horror movies where there's the final girl who survives odds or chance or whatever it is, and the final boy being the one who almost makes it but then dies at the end tragically. So let's start out with, could we make final boy status in this movie?
Final boy. I guess like the crux of this movie, we never got into this, but the idea is every time she dies and wakes up back at the beginning of the day, she says she feels weaker.
Yeah.
So the idea is that eventually she just runs out of opportunities to try again.
Yeah.
So final boy status would be if she never figured it out and she just kind of succumbed from all these like phantom wounds.
I think that's a good assumption to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
She never is able to figure out it's the roommate, probably, you know.
Interesting. Okay, well, in that case, then yeah, I'd probably make final boy status just because. Look, I mean, because I don't know how many times she dies like overall, but she says 16 total, and then I think she dies one more time, so I think 17 deaths for her in total before she figures it out.
Yeah.
So that number's probably wrong, but I think I could figure it out in 17 or less. Sure. And if she's still alive after that, then I'm in pretty good shape, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, I could probably make final boy status. I'm not much of a detective, but I think I'd do okay.
Yeah, I get it. So this is something I was thinking about. You know how she like talked about cats having 9 lives?
Yeah.
Do you wonder like she has as many opportunities as the age that she turned on her birthday? So she would be like between 19 to like 22 or something like that.
However old she is in college.
So yeah,
37.
You're good, baby. No worries. You got it.
No, sorry, that sounded like a really mean slam towards Jessica Roth. It's mostly just like pointing out that in Hollywood they always cast somebody who's easily 10 years older than they should be for certain parts.
That's true. Yeah.
Friggin' like Tom Welling in Smallville, like he's like 15. The guy's easily 30.
I know, right? Yes. Built like a Greek god.
Can't hide this chiseled jaw.
What can I say? Yeah, but anyway, what I was getting at with making it to final boy status, I think I don't know that I would be clever enough, but I think I would be tenacious enough to actually, like, just keep going, like, try to at least get the mask off to see who it is so I can plan my day around that a little bit better. So I think I would make it at least to final boy status for sure.
Lanson doesn't talk about this a lot, but he does have a punching bag with a mask on it, and every day he practices taking that mask on and off, just in case.
He watches movies like, that ain't happening to this guy.
No remorse. Gonna get the mask off.
And then when he starts working out, like Lanson actually puts the mask on.
I am the mask. I am the killer. What can I say?
Crazy
Adapt,
story, man.
change, overcome.
Improvise, overcome, yeah.
Indeed.
For me, I agree with you. I think because, and this is the thing to me that's unique about this movie compared to other Groundhog Day movies, is it's not infinite. There is a ticking clock.
There is
Which-
also ticking talk.
TikTok.
TikTok is a huge part of this movie.
Yeah, it's big.
I heard it was originally filmed to go on TikTok, but then somebody came along and was like, maybe this could be a movie.
You're right.
What if?
Wow.
Hear me out on this. What if
Nikola
instead
Tesla suggested this be a movie rather than a TikTok movie.
somebody came along and was like, wait a second. What if instead of lip syncing to other audio clips, we wrote an actual script for this?
Genius.
Well, that was a lot about society right there. That was deep.
There you go, dude.
But yeah, so for me, I feel like if we're assuming that we just kind of have to survive final boy status, it really just means you kind of don't have to do anything, because you could lay in bed, he comes and stabs you, you die, and that happens. And because, she died 17 times, so that could happen to you and you'd still be alive after the 17th time, So like for me, of course, I feel like no matter what I do, I could survive to where she did. Does that make sense? Am I saying this right? Luke has a confused look on his face.
Hold on, I'm doing the math on this.
Because final boy status is reaching the point where maybe I'm confused, where you don't die from just too many times, or where you do die, because that means you'd be final boy, right?
Yeah. So
Maybe I'm
so
it's way
final
confusing.
boy is you do die, but you make it like to the end of the movie, like you're the last death of the movie or something.
Yeah.
So final boy status in this movie, I guess, would just be dying over and over again until you just don't come back that last time.
So honestly, no matter what you do, you can achieve final boy status.
Now I'm putting
You
it
see
together.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like I could lay in my bed the entire time.
I was trying to figure out what the laying in the bed thing was about. I was like, what does that
This
have
is
to
a
do
weird
with
thing.
anything?
This is a weird thing to say.
Adam wants to die in bed. That's really
Honestly,
what the
just
crux
want
of
a
it.
bed death.
Go.
So
Let me die.
that is my thought on it.
Nice,
Where
okay.
You kind of
Yeah.
don't have to do anything to achieve final boy status. Is the
There you
point
go.
I'm trying to make.
Okay.
That I belabored. Final girl status, however, for this, the leap between the two is quite incredibly thick.
He's a thick boy.
That's
He's a
solid. What do you guys think about final girl status? Could you achieve it? Assuming you do what she did in the movie, figure it all out, kill the right person that needs to be killed.
Yeah.
I like how the movie sets it up where it's like the only way out of this is that I kill the person doing this to me. It's not enough that they get arrested. It's not enough.
Gotta die.
The serial killer guy, she could have fully just like had re-strapped into the bed, but she's like, no, I got to show up and like chop him into pieces with an axe.
Yeah.
Okay, me personally, where I'm coming from, I honestly think, like I said, when she makes it her mission to find out who it is, it becomes really kind of like she doesn't really do it very well.
Super thorough.
And so I think once I'm at that point, I would probably figure it out a little bit quicker than her. I'm always like really angry with like movies like this on a loop, because the second day they're always like, oh man, I'm having a weird sense of deja vu. Like, I don't, and obviously this has never happened to me, but I feel like already by the second day I'd be like, I'm in the same day. Frick my life. Somebody's trying to kill me.
Oh, no.
Like, the fact that it takes her like 3 or 4 days to be like something's wrong, I would have been
really
there.
freak out.
I would have been there day 2. So I don't know. I feel like I would have been a little ahead of the curve, a little bit ahead of her in a lot of ways. So I think I would have figured it out a little sooner.
Yeah.
At the very least, like, you got to admit, she doesn't double tap.
Yeah,
And like,
that's true.
the one that really gets me is like, I guess it's the third night where she is locked in the room and she hits the killer with the hammer and then tries to like run away. It bothered me so much. I was like, you spent so much time making sure nobody could go through that door, and now you're expecting to just go through the door?
Yeah.
Like, screw you. Go back there with the hammer.
Idiot move.
Take care of business. This makes me sound like so violent and aggressive as a person, but like, you have a hammer. They're right there. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just stop. Don't. Come on. Lanson, you're just gonna have to do it. All right. Lanson,
gotta do it.
Lanson, look, you're
Gotta
just
go
gonna
back
have
to those Grenada bad boy days. What can I say? War crimes.
Whenever I think about hammer deaths, I always think about if you've seen the TV show Fargo, the scene with Martin Freeman and his wife, like where he kills her, and he's just like, "I'm gonna hit you with this hammer," and she's like, "No, you're not. I'm gonna hit you with this hammer." "No, I'm not." And then he just brains her. It's like, just imagine that in this movie. Like, Martin Freeman in that is like the biggest wimp in the world and does it, and it's like, you know what, Tree, like, just do it.
I think we talked about this in Friday the 13th, but if you're in a horror movie, you just got to put all squeamishness aside.
Yep.
And if someone's coming out to kill you, it's
Time to
fight or flight, man.
It's time to break out the primal rage.
Yeah.
Well, and it gets absurd because we talk about this, like, towards the end, she's like preemptively killing somebody that she thinks is gonna kill her.
Yeah.
Where's that energy towards
She
the
put
beginning?
a knife up to a police officer who is,
she pulls a gun on a cop who acts like a total teddy bear, and it's like, okay. But yeah, like by the end, she's like, I'll do anything. I'll chop this guy into pieces with an axe, which I think is her plan the first time she confronts John Toombs.
Yeah.
And it's like, where's that energy on like day 2 or 3? You should be freaked out, flooded with adrenaline, and ready to just cut somebody up. Like, just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do it.
So you could
Just do it.
You could make Final Girl status as a
There you go.
to conclude.
Yeah. Granted, I'd get stuck in a rut with that cupcake thing. She'd get me a couple times with that one.
Oh, it's the cupcake.
But once I figured out the deal with the cupcake, which, like I said, might end up being obvious when you eat it in the morning, and halfway through the day, you're like, oh, I think I've been poisoned.
I think I'm gonna die.
I think I'm dying. What the crap? So yeah, she might give me a couple times with the cupcake, but I think I'd crack the case on this one. And
There you go.
at the very least, I'd be willing to pull the trigger on the killer way before she was willing to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There you go.
Hashtag sorry, not sorry. Am I right? Put a F down in the chat for frick yeah.
So anyway.
So we're done? We're done? I can go to bed?
Sleepy time for Luke.
Can you survive, Lanson?
Oh, dude. And how? Let me tell you.
Please tell us how.
So-
Please tell us how.
This is how it's gonna go
Adam,
down.
he's going to
for
tell
me.
us. Please be quiet.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
here it
trying.
goes.
I'm trying.
Adam, I need you
I'm
to
trying.
shut up. He's
I'm
going to
trying.
tell us right
I'm
now.
trying.
Please pipe down, Adam. Please.
I'm trying.
Just
Go ahead.
So, we know that this
Adam,
film.
he's going to tell us, please.
Son of a bitch.
I am a river. You can try to divert me, but I will cut through stone. I will not be denied. My mind is a trap, and it will spring on you in a forest like a bear in a bear trap. So,
It's like full jigsaw, his mind.
yep.
Well, let's hear this, Lanson.
So,
Adam, please. He's trying to tell us. Please, Adam.
the river rushes on. Yeah, so we know from this film, at least from looking at the police car, that this movie takes place in Louisiana.
Right.
You know who else is a cop in Louisiana because of his TV show? Steven Seagal. I'm not kidding. You can look this up. Steven Seagal, lawman. He is a cop, or at least, I don't know. He says he's a cop. in Louisiana.
Allegedly.
So, this is what I'm doing. Because, I'm enrolled at this university. I know the great Steven Seagal. I know I'm in Louisiana. What I'm going to do is day 2, I'm like, deja vu. Somebody's out to kill me. It is time to learn at the feet of the master, Steven Seagal. It is time to understand the truths of Aikido. Or at least the McDojo version that he teaches. So, what I would do is every time, I would try to place myself in the dojo or just after the dojo in the parking lot so that my skills could rival that of my roommates and I could kill her easily. Or I could have my sensei, master, and king come to my rescue in the parking lot. She would try. She would definitely try with a knife. She would definitely try with all of her superhuman strength. But she would be disarmed. She would be disarmed. Her arm would be broken. She would be dead with her throat ripped out in seconds. So, I would make it to Final Boy status because I would embrace a higher power known as Steven Seagal. And that, my friends, is how I would become the final girl.
Wow. Adam, please. Lance's trying to tell us.
That is very valid, I think.
It's the only way.
Yeah,
It's the only way. Forget what Luke said. It's the only way.
Screw that.
I don't remember what I said. That was like 3 hours ago at this point. Who cares?
Who knows?
I'm a rooster illusion. Who even cares anymore?
Oh, forget it. Let's just go.
I feel like I do this a lot, but I don't think I'd survive. I think, I'm just like, I don't want to over-explain it, but the moment where she figures it out to me was definitely a stretch. And I was like, there's no way I would have. I forgot what she said. It was something about I had the cupcake yesterday, and then she's like, poof, 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 all the things connecting. I was like, there's no way I'm smart enough to connect those dots. I'd be like, I had the cupcake yesterday. I'd be like I would not figure it out, for one, that it was her to begin with, because I don't know. Because she's like the nice roommate. And even like in little things like where she was like talking about the professor and she's like, don't you think this is a bad idea? Like, she seems like a pretty genuine person. I feel like that would be enough for me. I'm like, she wouldn't even be on the list. It's like, I'm fooled. And if I got as far, which I'm not convinced I would, to get as far as figuring out the serial killer guy is the guy, that would be my focus. And I don't know. I don't think I would be smart enough to get to that point where I figure it out. And I'm not good at hand-to-hand combat, and when it's down to the line, I think they've got me every time. So I don't think I'd survive.
So there you go.
Wow.
Could you survive? Let us know. Put it in the comment. Send us facts, whatever you want to do. Just let us know. Could you survive Happy Death Day? Were our reasons good? Let us know. Let us know.
For sure. Yeah.
Let us know, Luke.
I already told you what I think. You don't need to
leave a comment, please.
I'll comment. I'll comment on this all day.
You've been talking to me this whole time?
Yeah, you guys been talking to me? This is crazy. I usually just sit here and they ignore me.
What? Did you say something?
That's about right, yeah.
Well, would you believe it? So if you want to follow along, next episode we're going to do the sequel, Happy Death Day to You.
Oh, he did his research. He knows.
Yeah.
He put in the time on this one.
To You.
To You.
And so we'll see what happens there.
I've seen it. I know. I
haven't, so
I have
the
not.
first time.
Yeah.
Solid.
Anyway, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, you guys will watch it. You'll have an opinion. I don't know what you want from me.
Well, yeah. So that's the show. Hope you liked it. Are there any plugs for other things going on that you gentlemen would like to bring up?
Yes. Watch your Steven Seagal movies.
It'll help you out in a horror movie situation.
Oh, jeez, Louise. I know I have like serious stuff to talk about, but it's hard to talk about that with Steven Seagal on the brain.
He's still in the air. He's around us still.
We're just constantly surrounded by his essence.
His greatness.
Yeah. I mean, This comes out on July 16th. Okay, so I haven't done it yet, but by the time this comes out, I will have directed a play called Keystone.
Cool.
Which will be in the middle of its run as this episode comes out. So tomorrow, July 17th, there is a special showing at noon, followed by a talkback with the cast, the writer, and myself. So, I'll put like a link or something for tickets online. So, you should be able to catch one of the last performances if you hear it now and go get tickets immediately after. I have other stuff going on, but I know that Adam has stuff that he probably wants to talk about.
Yeah, and my stuff is also Luke's stuff, and I'm glad he threw me that ball just so I can also talk, which is good. We're doing a Dungeons and Dragons show. It'll be on YouTube, and it will be released when this is released. The schedule is a little foggy in my brain. Maybe Luke doesn't know either.
A few episodes should be out, yeah.
It is called The World Beyond is the show, and the season that we're doing is The Sun Always Sets in the West. It's a cool Western steampunk Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going to be playing a character named Brain Williams. If you like D&D, or if you just like us, or you just like me, come check it out. It's a good time. We roll some dice. We kill some things. We make some friends.
You killed something?
Some things.
Oh,
more than one thing.
Okay, that's
Brain Williams doesn't fuck around.
He's a bad
serious
man.
Very serious man. But yeah, I think that's everything from me.
Cool.
Who knows? Next episode, I might be like, I forgot a million things. But for now, I'll say that. Keystone and Worlds Beyond. Go check those out.
And this show, Final Voice Status, I'd like to plug. We have a whole season behind us. We'll have a whole season ahead of us. Watch the movies ahead. Watch along with us. Give us your thoughts. Let us know how we can improve, because we're still a relatively new show.
Yeah.
We're still trying to figure things out. So find us on YouTube. And, we've got Facebook presence as Underqualified Idiots. I've forgotten these plugs since it's been so long since we've done a podcast, but how do they find us on Facebook, Luke?
I believe it's facebook.com/underqualifiedidiots.
Yeah.
Nice.
Twitter is @idiocracy. Instagram is @underqualifiedidiocracymedia. And then we have an email. You can just email us straight at underqualifiedidiots@gmail.com. We're doing full steam with this show. We're having fun with it, so we might make stuff that's specific to this show.
Yeah.
But for now, we just belong to the Underqualified Idiocracy family, so
Just
you
the
can find
umbrella.
us there.
Yep. So check us out. Thanks for watching or listening, and it's been a good time.
Hopefully watching. There could have been a glitch.
Hey,
I don't
New
know.
in this process.
Absolutely. Well,
take care,
catch
guys.
you later.
We'll see you.
Signing off.
This has been an Underqualified Idiocracy media production, produced by Lanson Lappin, Adam Bone, and Luke Haueter. Theme music for the episode was written by Rachel Robison. You can hear more of Rachel's music at rachelrobinsonmusic.com. You can also find her on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram by searching @RobelRachison. Artwork for the YouTube version of this podcast was created by Trinity Rodriguez. You can follow her on Twitter by searching @InstrinBaby to see more of her work. This podcast was recorded in Underqualified Studios and edited by Luke Haueter, with special thanks to Mike Fuchs for providing audio assistance. The illustrious voice acting providing the intro and outro of this episode is Shane Alvey of the Paradox Files voice acting. You can explore more of his work on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram by searching @The Paradox Files.